So next up, podcast listeners, CNN says critical race theory is not in schools. You know what? We got to set this up. Look, for a year, CNN has said critical race theory is necessary. And teaching children critical race theory is absolutely essential. This is what CNN said on MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. Then there's an election in Virginia, and Glenn Youngkin defeats a very powerful dynasty, the Clinton dynasty, which is Terry McAuliffe, very much part of the Clinton dynasty, on that issue, on the issue of giving parents the right to determine what the curriculum will be in their kids' schools, giving the parents a say in those schools, and stopping the teaching of critical race theory. Glenn Youngkin will be the governor because he's won in the state of Virginia, and he will be inaugurated and sworn in. And so, fast forward, now that that's happened, CNN's new talking points, CRT is not in schools. I don't know how this network can even hire anyone. I don't know how anyone could even work for a network who does nothing but lie and does it so badly. So Brianna Keilar of CNN's New Day says CRT is not in schools. So she's interviewing, CNN's Brianna Keilar is interviewing Senator Rick Scott, a United States Senator from Florida, and she asks the senator a question and tries to basically say, yeah, well, you're all going to use the Trump messages, and you're going to tie yourself to Trump, or you're going to try to untie yourself to Trump. Obviously, CNN's still stuck on Trump. Remember, CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS and NBC all tried to say again and again that Youngkin was a Trumper. And it didn't work. And it didn't work because while they were saying that, what they weren't doing is talking about policy. Youngkin was talking about policy, like critical race theory, like letting parents have a say in schools. And now, of course, CNN is saying CRT is not in schools. We have this epic interview by Brianna Keilar of CNN with Senator Rick Scott. It's wonderful. Listen closely. We have two clips. Here's the first clip.
The Virginia governor's race, is that the GOP playbook for the midterms, basically ignore Donald Trump?
Well, I hope the Democrats continue to do what Terry McAuliffe did. Terry McAuliffe ran his campaign. He did two things.
But you don't have control over that. You only have control over, say, the Glenn Youngkin in this case. So I'm asking you, as someone from the Republican perspective, because I'm pretty sure you're not advising Democratic candidates, is this the playbook for Republicans?
I think what Democrats are going to continue to do is talk about Donald Trump. I think Republicans are going to continue to talk about issues. Glenn Youngkin won his race because he talked about issues, and I think that's what's going to happen. What we're going to see is just like in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe wanted to say, "Oh, there was nothing about critical race theory." We know it's true. Parents know their kids are being indoctrinated with critical race theory in Virginia, and the Democrats wanted to deny it.
It's not in the curriculum.
Showed up because they don't like being lied to.
Just to be clear, it's not in the curriculum.
So, podcast listeners, can you believe that? That is the same Brianna Keilar of CNN who's been saying for a year that critical race theory is absolutely necessary to teach children, and it's because America is fundamentally an evil country and it's a horrible place, including in 2021. And suddenly, the Democrats get completely wiped out in the state of Virginia in the election that just occurred. And now CNN's Brianna Keilar is saying there is no CRT in public schools in Virginia. There is no CRT. There is no CRT. And so while she's saying this, she actually has a smirk on her face. I know you can't see this if you're not watching the podcast. If you're just listening, So she knows with a little smirk on her face that she's lying. And I have to ask the question, how do you get up every morning when you know that you have to lie all day on a network and try to convince your listeners that lies are actually the news? How is that helpful in advancing the American civic discussion? And so we have a second clip in this series where Rick Scott just completely pounds her to the ground about this whole CRT thing. And it just demonstrates to you either the CNN anchor is just really dumb, or maybe they just are hoping that the anti-Trump stuff, by talking about Trump, that's going to somehow carry the day because their policies are all failed policies. I'm not really sure. You make your own decision. Here's the second clip in this series. Here it is.
Brianna, would you like me to? Here, let me just read you a few things. In 2015, while Terry McAuliffe was governor, the Virginia Department of Education promoted incorporating a critical race theory lens in education. You can still find it on the Department of Education's website, still there. In February 2019, a superintendent memo for the Virginia Department of Education promoted critical race theory and the idea of white fragility.
It's not
I
part of the
curriculum.
Yesterday.
It's still there,
I do want
Brianna.
to ask you, just to be clear about
Brianna,
where
wait a
you
minute.
are.
Let's all agree. They were trying to indoctrinate kids. Terry McAuliffe denied it. It's still on the website. This is happening. And I hope Democrats continue to say it's not happening because parents are dumb.
So Senator Rick Scott is like, the CRT information is still on the state's education website. It's still there. And then you got the CNN anchor, Brianna Keilar, saying, no, it's not being taught in the schools. It's just not. It's not. And this is just insane that you have CNN still in business. But what's scary about it is that there are actually people that believe this. And are those people equally dishonest, or are they just dumb? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a combination. Maybe some of them are just outright evil. And I do believe at this particular point in time that Brianna Keilar, by staying on CNN and promoting these lies, it's just pure, unadulterated evil that she's doing this. And so what was interesting is that is a CNN clip. But if you go on Rumble, there's a very end part of the clip that CNN conveniently got rid of. And that is where Brianna Keilar of CNN says, well, Senator, did you just say parents are dumb? And of course, he didn't. He kind of slurs his words a little bit, Senator Rick Scott, when he talks, to be honest with you. And he goes, well, no, what I said was parents aren't dumb. So she tried to even plant words in his mouth by saying, so you said parents are dumb? I mean, it's Democrats that believe parents are dumb. It's Terry McAuliffe that believes that parents are dumb. But of course, she can't even ask that question.